What's up, guys? Another episode of Ohio State Football with Scarlet N Great. Johnny Bullet here. I'll be joined with my classic co-host here in just a moment. You'll have the dynamic duo back together, but I just wanted to tell you thank you for coming here and watching the show. We're going to preview a little bit, talk about Ohio State in the middle of camp right now, getting ready for the season. So if you're a huge Buckeye fan, please do us a favor, subscribe to the channel. We are trying to get $5,000 in subscribers before the season's kickoff. I think we can do it because Ohio State fans are rabid. And as long as we do our part, pointing at myself, not going fishing so much, and actually making videos, we're going to get there. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll get into it just a second. The man that runs Ohio State media is going to join us right now. Everything flows through him. Florida, Cory.
I run Ohio State media.
You run. If it doesn't go through you, it didn't happen. And
That's
you notice, there's a lot of disgruntledness right now in Ohio State media's people between. It's because they think it's because of lawsuit. No, it's the deep down issue is somebody didn't bring Cory into the loop. Now heads are rolling. But I don't want to get into the deep, swampy weeds of things. Cory, let's talk about what people came here to talk about. My man, since you run this show, since you run these things, first of all, it's great to have you back. It's fun to do these things with you. It's been a long time we've been doing this now. Mm-hmm. I want you, Cory, are you
They tried to cancel us.
They tried. That wouldn't have only made us stronger. What do you think, man? Is football's back in the air? Just a few times the mornings have been cooler. You know, you can feel football coming. You hear the camp news. Are you getting pretty jacked that we're right in the middle of camp and you can actually hear real football's being played? Pads are hitting each other. Names that you recognize are coming off on these reports.
About some things, but other things have me a little concerned. We're halfway into camp, and some things are still not resolved. And I get it; you still got some time, but we got a big one coming up. It isn't Toledo first game. You know, it's not some patsy the first game where we just go out there and kick their butt 54-0 and we'll see Devin Brown by the third quarter type of thing. No, it's Notre Dame. It's big boy football. I know a lot of Ohio State fans want to say, what big deal, but we got to focus on what's going on in camp to prepare for that game. So some things are great. Like, don't get me wrong, but again, they're playing each other. So you got to take it with a grain of salt no matter what, you know.
And these reports, man, I'm so jaded because every year they're so positive. There's no way.
We did a graphic on that. Like, here's the 5 catchphrases you're gonna hear all the time.
Every year, man. There's no way people watched. No one indicated to us in the last 2 years watching camp when they wrote on their forums and stuff. Hey, my informant, the Third Village Shaman, says the defense is flat awful. Yeah. But can you imagine Ohio State's defense last year versus Ohio State's offense last year in camp? It had to be a bludgeoning, a beatdown. The only thing that saved them was maybe CJ's youth, first camp starting, but they were so bad, Cory. Maybe Ryan Day took it easy on him. I don't know. So I just take all this crap with a grain of salt because it's always positive. I want to get into this, though. Everybody's like, I'm trying to read between the lines because they're like, the defensive line is good. This guy's great. This guy's great. And then they'll say, like, the offensive guys, these will be the backups, and they're pretty good. And I'm like, oh, well, they're backups. So, no. And then they talk very generally when they compliment the defensive line, and they talk very positively when they compliment the D-line. And that made me go, well, 2 things are probably true. This D-line is probably really good. Like, I'm looking at this across the board, and I'm getting shades of, like, 2017. I'm getting, like, this is one of the best D-lines I've ever seen. Like, it could be. But then I look and I go, wait a second. I don't really see any good, solid hype about the O-line. So it could be 2 things. They're struggling and the D-line is generational, or just they're struggling. Cory, and then piece that with what Kevin Wilson actually said. We're not where we need to be when it comes to short yardage situation. And he's not even the O-line coach. I mean, that to me is kind of almost like poking Justin Fry, like, hey, buddy, are you a bit concerned that the O-line might be playing catch up a little bit?
Yeah. yes and no, I guess. It's a new group. People are switching positions. You got to expect some, some leeway on that to where they're going to take a minute to get adjusted. I mean, a new left tackle moving from right guard to left tackle.
And what about that Cory that he was openly named as? Kept playing a little catch up. Isaiah.
Don't say
Paris
Isaiah
Johnson.
Prince.
Yeah.
Don't say Isaiah Prince.
That's where my mind goes when I'm talking about struggling O lineman. But yeah, Paris Johnson. They say they were like playful about it. That he needed to catch up a little bit.
Well, I don't think they're worried about him, but they do. But again, look who he's going against. I mean, Jack Sawyer, we kind of believe is going to be one of the premier pass rushers in the nation at some point, if not this year, the next year. I think by the end of the year, Jack Sawyer is going to be a guy that everybody knows, really. But I mean, that's just it's gonna make you better at least. And again, Zach Smith has talked about it, playing guard where you are between two guys, and going out into tackle, playing in space. They're just two different worlds.
And you're taking on the best pass rusher a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. And again, they're probably trying to speed up his development by throwing every best pass rusher we have at him. Just like here's Jack Sawyer 3 times. Here's JTT. Now here's Zach.
The worry is, dude, Thayer Mumford was so underratedly good. Yeah. He just flat locked his man up. We didn't
have to think about it. Yeah.
For 2 years. And Paris, though, is supposed to be a generational talent. And I'll tell you, there was some times, and granted, the coaches made the decision to put him at right guard. I get it, best 5, all that stuff. There's times he was bad, like flat bad. There's times I was like,
he had a rough game against Nebraska.
Nebraska, Penn State. I was like, I don't know if he can play in this team. Like, I don't know if he's talented enough. But then, like you said, you go from left tackle to right guard now, back to left tackle. I expect some struggle, but I feel a little bit like, man, a lot of breadcrumbs that says the O-line is not firing what they need to do, really hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, I mean, it also is. It's a new group, man. Luke Wypler's back from last year. I think him and Thanos, Big Thanos, the only two that are actually in their positions that they've been in this entire time. I mean, I think it's just to become a cohesive unit. It just takes time. Because they're all individually talented. Matt Jones was like one of the top interior linemen coming out of high school.
And we'd be kind of waiting on him to be like the staple, right? That he was supposed to be. I mean, man, the way they raved about his intelligence and recruiting, you remember teaching us about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was so happy when we landed him. Wypler, again, I think he's a pretty good center. Had his ups and down moments last year, but he proved he's got the potential to be a pretty good center. Donovan Jackson's that worldly guard that's come out of Texas, that we love. But I think Big Thanos. I just think it's funny. Ryan Day talked about Big Thanos, Dawand Jones. Like, he really slimmed down. He's down 10 pounds. I'm like, okay. I was like, I'll be honest with you. I lose 10 pounds.
If you do the percentage of body weight on him, dude, it literally makes no difference. He would lose 10 pounds out of his fingers. His fingers and his chin could lose 10 pounds.
I'm looking at like I lose 10 pounds. I don't even notice it. Like I lost 10 pounds. I don't know how 10 pounds.
Yeah. What if you were 360?
You're definitely not noticing it.
Yeah. So here's the other thing, Cory. And I don't want to think the sky is falling and stuff. Just reading between it, though, I do think they're probably not up to speed all the way. They need to be because we thought last year's offense was good. They were good on paper. They were not good situationally. Like I tweeted out, CJ Stroud is the best quarterback between the 20s with the lead of all time. but you get in the red zone where you get 3rd and long. We couldn't run the ball in certain situations. We played a little finesse. Like, Cory, we're supposed to be generationally talented again. Travion, and you know who all the receivers are. If the O-line doesn't hold up their end of the deal, it's just the bottleneck in the factory, and you hope that's not the case. I'm not saying it's going to be the case, but I'm saying maybe keep your nose to the ground, look at the next few reports, and if it's more of this, you might start to go, oh, okay. Well, at least if they get beat up a little bit in the first game, I kind of halfway expected it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the one thing you can take solace in is I'm not reading where they're just switching starters like all the time, trying to figure out like who needs to be the starter.
They think they have their guys.
Yeah, they think they have their starting 5. And to me, that's good cohesiveness from the start of fall to just make sure these 5 guys can work together.
Right.
They kind of knew coming out of spring who these guys were going to be. I mean, but I think they're also worried about depth more than anything, because it isn't just the starters you can look at and say they're getting beat like a drum. I mean, I'm sure the biggest comment I've heard from Ryan Day is we lack the depth. We don't have our depth right. And I mean, outside of a couple guys, I think I see where he's going. Enoch Biamahi seems like he's played pretty well in camp. Josh Bryant's back. I don't know how well he's done or not, but he was a guy that shined as a freshman a little bit till he got hurt.
Zen's got a couple of compliments and some posts.
Yeah, again, and if a guy like, just say, knock on wood, Paris Johnson went down, who's your left tackle? So I mean, I don't know, but I just look at it and I say, okay, we can't just look at it and say, well, okay, the starters are getting beat like a drum I mean, no doubt the second string is coming in and like they're discombobulated, they don't look great and everything like that. And when the coaches speak of, well, we're not where we want to be in short yardage situations, they're talking about all over, not just the starting 5. It's possible he's talking about the whole unit. And so my guess is like the starting 5 has their successes against the defense, but the second string comes in and just falls apart. I mean, so
there's another thing I'll give the caveat to this as well. Defenses should look better at the beginning of camp than offenses.
Yeah,
because what defense job is to do is disrupt timing. They have a huge advantage because the offense hasn't established timing yet. So you're asking them to disrupt something that's not already established. That's an easier task than, hey, establish timing while these guys are doing everything in their power to stop you. You know what I mean?
Not to mention, let's be real, they might be overhyping the defense a little bit. Because
exactly, because these forums, man, you know how it is. It's never going to say anything negative.
Well, no, but I mean, like, even the coaches are leaking it to the writers. Say, hey, look, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have the feeling the defense is looking better. Bobby Carpenter is not coming out and saying, I want to shake Jim Knowles' hands because he just is playing the part of the commentator. I think if the defense looked terrible, Bobby would at least, he'd be nice about it, but he wouldn't come out and just be glowing, obviously, just because they asked him to be. I like what he said. He just, like, they have a swagger about them. We've been hearing that since spring. They have a new swagger.
Well, you know what I didn't like about that? I've been hearing that for 3 years.
I'm willing to put my faith in it again because it's
because of who it is. Yeah.
If it was still Combs and staff, I'd be like, yeah, right. I don't want to hear it.
Baby, take me back. I won't cheat this time.
I mean, if let's just say they kept Combs as DB coach and Barnes was a DC and they got a swagger about him, I'd be like, yeah, they'll be good. Don't
ever say swagger again. You know what I mean? I'd be like, you're 40-year-old grown man.
You're butchering the word. And
they used Old Spice swagger scent. Like that's what you're trying to say. They're not a swagger.
They're okay. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. They talk trash to each other. Oh man, young athletes talking trash on the field. Look out. That's never been seen. These guys must have a lot of confidence. It's a scrappy group. Cory, real quick before we close. Everybody's on Tommy Eichenburg starting at the mic. Good for him. Great for him. Cody Simon, we thought, hey, we're only have 2 linebackers. They got to be combination then of size and speed. Steel Chambers playing that outside role really well, tracking down, backs out of the backfield, et cetera, et cetera. Cody Simon struggled last year, but we knew he was hurt. But we felt like with his speed, he was going to be a good Mike in this system. I have not heard his name. It has just been Steel, Tommy.
A little bit of Chip Cherry in him, too.
Yeah, you hear that. I think, could follow in the Steel Chambers career path, switching and going. But anyways, I'm be interested in watching this one. Not going to dump on the kid, not because, these people are like, oh, man, when you talk about some kids, recruits or players, people get so in their feelings, He's just a kid, a sweet 8-pound, 6-ounce recruit, guys, come on. They're freaking millionaires now, some of them. But anyways, I want to watch this one closely. I've had high hopes for the kid, and I'm not giving up on him. He's supposed to be really athletic, but I did think it was peculiar that he was disappearing into the roster. You got a quick word on that?
You know what? You root for him. You loved him when he came to Ohio State, and you still know he's talented. You know what? So every year there's a guy that plays a lot. you're like, I didn't even hear about that guy in camp. What the heck was going on? It's every year, man. That there's somebody breaks out. I don't know. Maybe Cody Simon out of nowhere is like takes Tommy's spot. Like, I'm not ripping Tommy for that. I'm just saying, what if that happens? You're like, I didn't even hear about Cody in the spring. Because I'll say this: I've been a Packers fan.
Doesn't it seem like that happens with a safety a lot with Ohio State? Some safety comes out of nowhere late season. You're like, how was he this good all along? You never talked about him.
Like I said, they like Brett Favre with the Packers was a horrible practice player. Then he'd get into games, and it's like, wow, he's way better than Don Majkowski. Why do they even, what the heck happened there? But, I mean, maybe Cody's just not having the greatest camp in the world, but then he gets in the games, the light bulb goes on. He's like, oh, okay, I got this.
Maybe. The best example I can think of, Brendan White.
Yeah.
When Brendan White came in the game first time, I was like, he was on the roster the whole time?
You had it's like you're fighting a war with a BB gun, and you're like, I have a 12 gauge in the back.
And you had that the whole time? All right. We got to run, Corey. Yep. I think we're guys, next video we're going to talk about the challenge that Notre Dame poses to Ohio State in game one is a little more formidable than maybe we think. So before you go, if you're still here with us, please comment where you're watching from. I always like to do that. Do I have anybody from the Dayton, Ohio area, my birthplace? Just curious. But
hey,
anyway,
if you're in Florida, comment.
Yeah, let's see if we got any other degenerates in Florida. And please comment. So thank you guys. Remember, there's no such thing as boneless wings. Goodbye. God bless. And go Bucks.